As the conversation turned to the progress of the corruption, Mary was curious to know which village had been attacked this time. However, that worry gave way to panic when Lucy entered. Poor beasts, all slaughtered. Maybe something had infected them. The corruption was on their doorstep now. The goblin bandits had been preying on Aeneadae's pilgrims with unprecedented cruelty. Removing the evil would help those who had taken refuge in the caves. Ben had heard that the goblin siblings' lair was somewhere in the lost trenches. Bergsons had to deal with those two as soon as they could. The air vibrated with the pilgrims' chanted prayers, prayers offered to a deity that perhaps slumbered, unhearing, at the end of their journey. The hero did not know how many of them would survive the coming days. Sweat dripped from the man's brow, his stamina fading in his final stand to protect his family. Were such trials worth the promise of a safe haven? Through labored breath, the man gave his thanks and said a prayer for his good fortune. For those seeking refuge, one problem simply replaced another. Though he was relieved to see family, Uncle Ben's first thought was of scavenging the things he needed to repair the ramshackle wagon. This monstrous creature shouldn't keep me from finding the cure for the little cub, the Bergson thought. One fungus bulb harvested, not the most pleasant of smells, but would give... With supplies in hand, Ben began repairing the cart as the refugees waited, anxious to continue their trek. While painful for a mother to see her son in sickness, was still better than missing him for so long. Mary knew that she would make caring for Mark her mission. Mark had to warn them about the dangers approaching, despite how difficult it was to talk. He started naming the villages that were evacuated, or worse, taken over by the corruption, but soon succumbed to fatigue and fell asleep. Mary recalled hearing of an herbalist in Caldipo Caves that would have the yarrow at hand needed to treat Mark. The Bergsons would once again need to brave the treacherous caves in search of the herbalist. As if night had become day, the cub showed no signs of its past struggles, with Lucy and he now simply dancing the day away. If the little wolf cub was to stay, it would need a room and bed of its own. All too happy to build it, Ben only required some wood and nails from nearby. Margaret knew full well that signs and symbols were seldom obvious and never direct. She was certain that the cause of the corruption would be difficult to discover. The past holds both joy and bitterness of time. Sheila could help them, as John said, but Ben could not bring himself to overlook the sting of their past relationship. The origin of the threat of corruption was what occupied most of Grandma's time lately. When pressed, Mountain God was the only answer Grandma gave. The poor herbalist had no valuables, but the goblin's greed had now surpassed gold and jewels. Shedding tears for the dead man would serve no one now. The herbs needed to be delivered to Mary. Adam writes about how he and the gang found more than they set out to find. It was right here. The Bergson thought that this would be one final thing that they could do. Mark was out of the woods now. His fever gone. He was almost up and about. "Welcome back, brother," said Kevin. He had avoided conflict over the years, living in harmony with nature, but as Uncle Ben was fond of saying, a Bergson would forget how to walk before they forget how to fight. Never would a wolf cub live in as nice a house as the one Ben was building. When asked what name to put on the house, Lucy yelled out, "Riker! Riker the wolf cub!" The heat had only grown more intense in the young child's hands, far stronger than any would suspect in one so young. Her training could no longer be just a pastime, for fire was a dangerous friend. Feeding the shy fish always involved much pomp and circumstance, a ritual that was usually held by Lucy and Linda and featured the animals' playfulness. Steps were taken without regret, for it was never possible to change a destiny unknown. The camp lay in ruin. Serene prayers had fallen on deaf ears, leaving a voyage of hope with none at all. The monster's eyes lacked remorse, or even the slightest hint of reason. No one can always be there in time. A sad truth that no hero learns easily. Bergson's hair stood on end from the ominous sounds of the unholy ritual. Whatever it was, it would not be a happy affair. Welcome, friend, the shopkeeper. Don't mind the occasional bloodstain on the merchandise. Steps were taken without regret, for it was never possible to change a destiny unknown. Summoners in a circle. Surely nothing would come from it. The creature that now threatened the hero was a crudely focused inferno of hatred and malice. If one raging beast was not enough, surely two were. Letting out a final rasping breath, the second beast became motionless. The poor creatures, twisted by the corruption, were finally able to rest. A path to be cleared of the corruption, and the jewel of life to be restored, the realm of Anea Dia, mother of beasts and the goddess of waters. Before embarking for the spirit halls, however, the family must be informed of the newly opened passage. The goblin siblings lay dead, and the pilgrims were now safer in their caves. But the last step remained to be taken. The warriors knew only that somewhere in the expanse of the caves was the ancient halls of the spirit who would reveal new truths to them.